Hi everyone, thank you for joining Outdoor Dad 1 YouTube channel. Very good of you to join us. If you could like and subscribe, that would be much appreciated. And today we have got the Yildiz Pro Black adjustable in 12 gauge. 3-inch chambers, 30-inch barrels. The gun weighs £8, 5 ounces. And I bought this a few years ago. And I have to say that the reason for buying it, as I wanted a change. All sorts of Japanese and Italian guns, Belgian ones, English ones, and this had come on the market and I'd seen them and I thought, this looks good. People were sort of doubting it, doubting how reliable it'd be, and I thought, at the price, it's not an expensive gun. I'm not sure what they retail for at the moment. About £1,400 in the UK. I'm gonna take a shot on it, have a go, see how much I like it. And I ended up going for the 30-inch 12 gauge version. And I have to say, what a gun, it's been brilliant. I suppose really we should start at the back. I like the butt pad, it's soft enough. I've got a little bit of a spacer that I've put in there that I've just kind of ground to fit, just to lengthen the pull. But the stock dimensions are very modern. The height of the comb and the thickness of the comb is more of a modern, and obviously this is a fairly new gun. Like I say, I think I've had this about 2.5 years. I shot nothing but this for 12 months at one point at Clay's, and I have never had any issues with reliability at all. It has been bob on. Also, you can probably tell, and this is one of the things I love about Turkish guns, a fantastic piece of wood. Now, I don't know if it's true, but I did hear that Yildiz was responsible for most of the timber in Turkey, where most of the good walnut comes from these days. So I suppose they get the pick of it, or they can certainly pick some nice pieces. But the gun shop that this came from was nice enough to let me pick one out of, I think they had 20 of them. There was a lot of them, a lot of guns, and they were obviously selling them. Enough, I think, to make other brands finally sit up and take notice. And I certainly have. It has been an absolute joy. One of the reasons for this was steel shot proof. Obviously in the UK we're going to be onto steel very soon. I didn't fancy finding out that an expensive gun wasn't very good with steel and had barrel problems. I thought, I'll buy one of these, I'll shoot whatever the hell I want through it, and we'll see what happens. Now, obviously, constriction wise in steel, I'm not even going to mention the size of the choke just in case somebody but definitely not too tight and certainly not full choke. So I thought, I'll buy this and I'll try it out with some steel. I've only shot a small amount of steel through it at the moment, mostly because I don't need to shoot steel through it all the time currently. But wild fouling, nothing, no problems. There's no scoring in the barrels or any bulging or anything like that. 3-inch gun, which is fantastic. So I've put some big steel through this on wildfowl. And like I say, I shot it 12 months solid on Clay's. Yeah, the adjustable stock, it has got lots of adjustment in it. It's already fairly high to start with, so if you want to see some rib, and you can really see some rib if you want to jack this up, the adjustment's there. I've been out in the rain with it, got the stock absolutely soaking wet. I tend to put some wax and oil on my stocks. I like to keep them fairly nice. And I think, as you can tell, looked pretty much like brand new. I'm, yeah, very, very impressed with it, really. Yeah, so moving forward, the palm swell. The palm swell is one of the nicer ones I think that I've ever felt. It's really nicely shaped. So the palm swell's in the middle of the gun, or in the middle of the palm of the pistol grip. Sometimes they like flare out to the bottom, and they're not really contoured how I would like. Obviously, all these things are very personal to what you like, but lovely palm swell. Nice checkering, it's neat, it isn't massively abrasive, which is nice. Moving on, the safety catch. Now on this particular gun, there is ever so slightly where I've been sliding the safety catch on and off and selecting barrels. And also I'd like to point out that there isn't a O and a U to tell you which barrel you were on, which is fine when you're using it a lot because you know which barrel it is. But it would have been nice if there was something to indicate which barrel you'd selected. The safety catch works really well in the wet, and yeah, it's nice and sleek, to be honest. It's not a chunky monkey, it's not an ugly one, so the safety catch is nice. The wood to metal fit around the trigger is, it's good, it's really good. You know, this isn't a £12,000 gun, but if you were to compare this to a Beretta or a Browning, say from the 2000s, it is no different. It is no better, no worse. It is just exactly what you'd expect. What you'd expect for a gun of this price. It's just mind-blowing what the Turkish have managed to produce. Now, the top lever, it's checkered, ever so slightly checkered, and it is so shallow that you can see it, but it's barely feelable. Which doesn't make your hand sore. I've not slipped off it, but as a quality thing, I would say that is perhaps something that you would notice. The checkering on the safety catch is much more grippy and deeper. I don't know what it was. This border engraving, this slight border engraving, and the name of the gun, Yildiz Pro there. Obviously this is the black action now. They do a blued action now. And I have seen the 20 gauges and they are beautiful too. And I think they're a scaled action. Yeah, obviously, very similar to the Perazzi. Yep, I said it. Now I'm led to believe that there are people who have managed to clip Yildiz barrels into Perazzi actions. That's how close they're supposed to be, or allegedly heard that they can be. This is not a Perazzi. The triggers are completely different. You know, the gun is what it is. It isn't. It's based on. It's got the Boss locking system. Very strong. Like I say, I've fired some Magnum loads through this. I've fired some stuff through this that's as big as I've ever fired, or ever want to fire. You know, comfortably out of like a non-semi-auto. Yeah, I haven't had the stock off it. It's shot and behaved itself absolutely wonderfully. Now, I think in a sec I'll take the barrels off and I'll just show you the action. But the polishing work on the lump, on the barrels that connecting to the action is, I don't know how they're doing it. There's probably someone who's not on a lot of money polishing away, but stunning. The quality of the machining is fabulous. Steel action, not an aluminium one. The Turkish manufacturers are sort of known in the UK for sort of like folding shotguns or silenced ones or children's guns, and they obviously knew this and they obviously thought, right, we're going to build a gun we're going to show what we can do. And I think they'll go a lot further than this, I'm sure, in the future. The bluing. Then, when it comes to bluing, this is really deep. Now, I think probably where Yildiz, they'll get away with a bit more on health and safety and their staff, I think, compared to other manufacturers. But this lovely gloss black, it's darker than blue, it's black. And I tell you what, I have to say, I've had a few people clatter their guns up against my gun, and like the odd bang on the stand at the playground, and it is really resilient. It's not marked, which goes to show. Now, if you really get into basically the gosh, the words escape me. But into the ventilated rib and the ventilated mid-rib, if you look in the mid-rib, you can kind of just see tiny little bits where the blacking hasn't got to. And I mean, you really, you're splitting hairs at this point. One thing that I'm a little bit, I don't know what the word is, not disappointed in, but noticeable, is the file cut rib is so sharp, it pulls all the fluff out of all of my bags, the lamb's wool lined one in particular, but it's really, really sharp. It's sort of like, I have little slips that I put them in, so they don't bang on each other when they're getting locked up for safety in the cabinet. And this rib gets hold of everything. Now then, it doesn't glare, which is fantastic, which is the reason for it. But yeah, slight improvement possibly in the future for them. They may have already done it by the time I've made this. Yeah, the chokes. Now then, when I looked at the gun and I thought, the chokes, I had a look, it comes with 2 extended Briley style chokes, and it comes with flush fit ones. And the flush fit ones, they don't look fantastic. I thought what I'll do is I'll put my favourite brand, a set of Teagues in. And sometimes I use chokes to change the balance on guns. If they haven't got a balancing system, I might put titanium chokes in if I want it to be more back heavy, or stainless steel extended ones if I want it to be more heavy. I like an extended choke because you can just nip them up with your fingers. I'm not really big into choke keys and winding up chokes. They should be finger tight. And when you're looking after your gun, you should be looking after them. They shouldn't be seized in. You shouldn't need a key to wind about. But Teague make fantastic chokes, and I bought myself a set of Teagues. It's got an LPA foresight on, really nice, not too big, not a massive blob on the end, and not that small that, it's not there sort of thing. It's on a lot of guns, a lot dearer than this. I don't know if you could notice, but the barrels are swelled to take the chokes. Which I think is one of those things that you get with a gun of this price bracket, let's say. I'm not going to call this a budget gun. The people who've made this, I hope they've got some, I'm sure they have, they've got a lot of pride in it. It is a good gun. So the barrels are swelled on some of my more expensive guns, then that is one of the things I think now. How the chokes are installed and trigger pulls in particular are what you notice about it. The triggers on this gun, now probably more recently, not so much when I shot it for 12 months solid out the clays, I never really noticed. So the trigger pulls are on the first barrel, I'm getting 4.5, and on the second one I'm getting 5. Consistently. Now, a lot of my old English and Belgium side-by-sides and side locks that I've got are around that. I think for a game gun in particular, you don't want a 2.5 pound trigger on a shotgun. I think 4.5 pounds is fine. Now, what I will say that I have noticed, particularly in recent times, to some more expensive guns that I've been shooting, there is an amount of creep in between, not take up, so like say on the Beretta or the Browning, as you put your finger on, there's like a little bit of almost free play, hardly any pressure, an unmeasurable amount of pressure where you're just taking up a little bit of slack, a little bit of free play travel. But I'm actually talking about creep, where you're squeezing the trigger and the trigger is not going off. The trigger is coming rearward before you get the brake and the trigger lets go. There is some creep on this gun. Now, when I shot this for 12 months solid, I never noticed. When I got my hands on something more expensive, I did notice. Like I say, who wants a really light trigger, or who would need? If all you're doing is shooting clays and you shoot the one gun, yeah. Now, a lot of beginners, because I think as a do-everything gun, this is an absolute cracker. I'm just going to talk about the forend actually. It's got a beautiful shaped forend, and this gun now is what I use for my game shooting. I've shot clays with it, had some good scores with it. I can shoot steel through this, which is coming. I can shoot wildfowl with it. I can shoot clays with it. I can adjust it up and down. There isn't an adjustable trigger. But at this price range, that's hardly surprising. But the forend and the wood is absolutely lovely. I shoot this now for game, and it's a great game gun. And back to the triggers, they're not too light. You don't want a really light trigger on a game gun. A nice crisp trigger is always preferable. And this, I would say, is a Browning or a Beretta trigger from 20 years ago. If you got this, you would never notice. If you got a Zolly or a Perazzi or a DT11 or something like that and you felt this trigger, you probably wouldn't be all that impressed. But it is perfectly adequate. Yeah, absolutely lovely. So I've really enjoyed shooting this Yildiz, and I will continue to. Back to the chokes, on a quick note, I patterned the Teague chokes, the flush chokes, and the Briley type extended chokes that come with this gun. This gun has thrown some absolutely amazing patterns. I can't even, without showing you, and I haven't got that to show you, but the Teague chokes, aftermarket chokes, for this gun, obviously always make sure you get the right choke for the gun, because obviously they can be all different. The Teague chokes shot really nice patterns. The extended Briley type ones, which look very nice, which the gun came with, but were full and mod, I think. Don't really shoot full and mod. If you do happen to drop some steel in it, it's not going to do it any favours, so leave them at home. I do these days. Don't take anything tighter than half out. Good patterns, but not the best. The Teague chokes, fabulous patterns. Now then, full choke in the flush Yildiz choke was probably one of the best patterns I have ever seen. It was an absolute cracker. Just out of interest, one of those things. But no, this has been a really nice gun. I'm not really sure what else I can tell you about it, really. It's given me years of pleasure. Very interestingly, in the little box of spares, with the Allen keys for the adjustable stock, there is a draw adjuster for in the forend. I'll tell you what, we'll have a quick look now. See if we can just set this down. I don't know if you can see that, but basically where it goes on the loop on the barrels, we've got one of those, comes with a gun. If we want to tighten it up and we think it's too loose, it's just sat in there. Take the screws out the fore end, take the fore end down out, change the drawer. Just a little thing that they've thought about, and they have thought about this gun. Definitely about the stock dimensions. I'll tell you what, let's just take this apart while we're here. Now then, the finish is absolutely lovely. I have had the ejectors out of this gun, just because I wanted to have a look. And the little disc that you slide out, say on a Perazzi, I found them quite tight in this, but I did get them out. Why you'd need to take them out, I think, yeah, people go on about servicing guns, and you know, this should be pretty much without fault all the time, in my opinion. But the finish on the lugs are absolutely, you can't fault it. CIP fleur-de-lis proved. Yeah, future-proofed, so they say, and you know, ready for steel. Yeah, cracking. Goes together well, dead easy. Look at that. Yeah. Lovely gun, lovely game gun, lovely all-rounder. You can use this for anything. We have got a green S at the top there for safe, but like I say, there's no over and under. We've got the Yildiz logo on the top lever there. And proportions, like I say, I've seen these in 20 bore. These are a really nice gun. I think for someone who's starting out and getting into shooting and they don't want to spend thousands and thousands and thousands, this is a really good choice. I'm glad that I bought it. I'm glad that I took a chance on it. It isn't a chance anymore. Loads of people have these. They're not breaking. Yeah, damn good gun. So I shall continue to shoot it, and I'm sure that it'll give me many years service. Thank you very much. I hope you all have a smashing time, and we'll see you again soon.